my friends, and welcome back to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm up to episode 158. Woof. Seems like a long time ago when I started this podcast. The first episodes were released in December of 2020. December of 2020? December of 21? Guess December of 2020. So yeah, we have been around here for 3 years. Can you believe it? Wow. All right. Well, that is not what this episode is about. This episode today is, again, a result of a lot of conversations that I have been having with clients. And again, I want you to hear straight from the horse's mouth what they are going to have to say today about what coaching is and specifically how coaching helps people that are in the mental health industry or vertical, right? So sometimes I think someone thinks that coaching is therapy or coaching is counseling or coaching is psychiatry, and coaching is not. It might have elements of each of those, but it is not any of those. And in fact, I have a bunch of clients, more than 5, maybe even more than 8 clients who are in mental health industries, but own their businesses. So today I wanted to bring them on to help continue to foster the discussion, which I started in an earlier episode. I want to say 129, an earlier episode about the difference between coaching and counseling and consulting. But I also want you to see how coaching really is a tool to help you become better decision makers, better planners, access what you want and who you want to be in the future. And those elements are not included in therapy, right? They're not part of therapy. Therapy serves a different purpose. So no wonder therapists can benefit from coaching. No wonder social workers can benefit from coaching. No wonder doctors can benefit from coaching. No wonder psychiatrists can benefit from coaching. So let's kind of dive into that. And we're going to hear again from some of my clients. So I've got a bunch of clients that perhaps, or I've had a bunch of prospect calls from people who think that maybe they don't need coaching, maybe they just need counseling. Okay. So I thought that people within these industries could speak to that better than me, better than I could. Okay. I also have clients who think they should be able to figure all this out themselves because they are in a mental health industry. Like at times they think they should be able to figure this out themselves. If they're engaging in coaching already, they know that's not true necessarily, but they might tell themselves that message. And then I have prospective clients who think, well, I'm in a mental health industry. Maybe I don't need this. So we're just going to kind of talk around that topic. And I asked several of my therapy practice owners to share why coaching is so important in general and so important to them, even if they're in a mental health profession. So if you're in an industry, any industry, where you think that you should probably know all the answers as to how to handle situations and move forward in your business and in life, here is a newsflash. You should not know all the answers. You might know some answers, but not all the answers. And coaching can really help you. It is an element of what all big thinkers need. It is part of, it would fall under the securing support. So when I did the episode last week on motherhood, I talked about how one of the elements that all big thinkers need is to be able to come up with thought options. I can go back to my acronym TRUST, which stands for T, thought options, R, real problem, U, uncertainty, S, secure support, and T, take action. So today, I'm bringing you this episode really because in order to be a big thinker, you need to secure support no matter who you are, even if you think you should know all the answers, even if you're in a mental health industry, no matter what. So let's dive in, but let's first just answer the basic question, all right, of what's the difference between therapy and coaching? Now, I did address this again. It was episode 123, not 129, 123. But now you're not just hearing my take on this, you're hearing directly from therapists themselves. Here we go. Here's a few clips.
I'd say on a very basic level, therapy is focused more on your past and coaching is more on your future. So if you have had things that have happened in your past, like most of us have at some point, but that are maybe keeping you from being the person you want to be in whatever facet of your life, then therapy is probably the place to start. And then I tell people oftentimes that sometimes when you sort of have reached your kind of goals in therapy and you've healed whatever past issues you needed to heal, then you might then move forward with a coach. So that, you might be done with therapy, at least temporarily, maybe forever, but maybe just temporarily. And then a coach might be able to help you focus on how to move forward in your future goals now that you feel like prepared to do so.
Okay. So if someone was trying to figure out which one do I need, is it kind of more based on what they're thinking about the most in a sense?
Yeah. Like what are they looking to get out of whichever one they're considering? And so if somebody called me, I do coaching as well. And if somebody called me for coaching, but in our phone call, they were talking about like an abusive ex relationship or difficulties with boundaries with their family and things like that, then that's telling me, okay, that what you actually need is therapy. What you're talking about is more therapy oriented. Whereas if they're talking about like, I know I need a new job, but I just can't like make myself look for one and I'm scared I won't, get hired or be able to get paid the same or whatever, that kind of stuff, then maybe that's more of a coachable thing.
We have a life coach on our team. And so when a client calls and they're sharing why they're calling and they're looking for support with their anxiety or they're not getting along with family members, they experience something traumatic, I immediately know that they need a therapist because they're looking to heal from something that happened before in their past or learn some skills around, some sort of relational dynamic or something like that. They might have a psychological issue. If they come to us and they are figuring out what they want for their future, how to manage what's happening in life right now, then I'm thinking about maybe they need coaching. If they're already managing life, if their things are not psychologically challenging, they're not talking about traumatic events, then I'm thinking about, okay, maybe a coaching relationship might be better for them. So those are the areas I think of. Therapeutically, we're going back more often in order to do some sort of psychological healing or skill building in order to move forward in a new way. And the coaching starts where we are, and maybe we're working on one area, whether it's professional or transitions or, other areas that are very singular focused going forward.
First, let me say there's different types of coaches and there's different types of therapists. So this is a very generalized information. This is very generalized information. But in general, therapy is more about analyzing patterns or the past, looking at like somebody usually comes into therapy with some sort of distress, dysfunction. And so we help move them from that to function. So if we were to say like in coaching, it might be they're already at a place of function, but moving them to more fulfillment. And so like that was definitely true for me. I was like, nothing is like really going super wrong. I'm functioning, but I want to like be more fulfilled and do more things, but I got to have changed my thinking about it. So therapy and coaching both work on like the ways that we think and view, ourselves and others. But therapy is more about like analyzing in general, right? And analyzing to gain insight, reviewing patterns of the past, how they affect the present as well as the future. Usually comes in with like something that's really difficult or a deep pain or wound, and the goal being healing, versus like coaching, looking more like, okay, here's where I'm at and what are the current results and like, where do I want to go for the future? So you learn from the past, what's going on presently, but more focused on future and personal growth is kind of how I'm looking at it. So like what's worked well, like coaching, like, hey, what's worked well and where do we go from here? Like that's a lot of what you and I do, right? And our coaching group does. And both can be collaborative. Like I work very collaboratively with my clients, but not every type of therapy modality does. Some are like, hey, I'm the therapist, I'm the expert, but I look at it like, yes, I'm the expert in these things that I have training in, and you are the expert in your life, client. And together we're going to work collaboratively to get you where you need to be. So that's, but not every therapist works like that. It depends on the modality.
Right.
And it's kind of the process-oriented, process-focused in general in therapy. But again, some types of therapy modalities are more like directive and here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it based on your goals. And it within that can still be an analysis and processing and patterns.
All right. So let's get to our next question. And remember, keep in mind, big thinkers secure support of all kinds. They also identify what the real problem is. And the real problem usually is just that they don't want to feel a feeling. They don't want to experience something negative. So I asked my clients, do you think someone in therapy can also be in coaching at the same time? So what I'm helping you with through coaching tends to be very future focused, and it can be enhanced with being at peace with your past, which therapy is helping you do, right? So I don't see why you couldn't why not engage in both therapy and coaching at the same time? Why would it be a problem? And I think that many of my clients have therapists, and coaching can have some therapeutic benefits, as therapy can include a bit of coaching. But if you think about the purpose of each of them, they are different. Okay. They are both helping you identify a real problem, which is that you don't want to feel negative about the past or about the future. All right. And big thinkers can quickly get to that place of maybe why they're not taking action is because they don't want to feel uncertain. They don't like to feel out of control. So again, another reason why I think that you should be able and willing and certainly could engage at both at the same time. But let's hear from the source.
Yes, and I have had clients that have been in that position. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. So yeah.
Yes. It's not a one or the other situation. It doesn't have to be a one or the other.
Right. Okay. It's actually very different in my experience. So yeah, the other stuff, the therapeutic side of it is, like I said, we're talking about my stuff that comes up while I'm managing life.
Yes.
How to regulate that. And the coaching helps me to simplify the stuff so that I can,
move forward.
Move forward. Exactly.
Most definitely. And then like, there's, I know some therapists are also coaches for different things, like coaching in this one specific area, and so there's those different things, like a therapist can diagnose, coaches cannot. And so it depends on like what if you're wanting to be different, know, and then maybe a coach ideally could point out, say, hey, that might be something for therapy. Let's focus on this, but like that part for therapy, and then we can bring it in, in certain ways.
All right. Now here's a twist. Can therapists benefit from coaching? Well, obviously, you've heard me say I have a bunch of therapists that are clients. So I guess the answer is yes. Therapists can benefit from coaching, just like humans can benefit from therapy and coaching at the same time. But my relationship with my therapist clients is really to be their Sherpa or their guide as they grow their business, to guide them up that hill that they've never been on before. They've never grown a business before. They don't teach you this in school. So I walk beside them as they walk on that trail toward the top of the mountain, toward growing that business that they want to have, okay, in that direction, I'm right beside them. A therapist isn't walking beside them, remember, because a therapist is really just concerned about you, helping you navigate your past, okay, and other things, but that's their main focus. So moving into that future, climbing the mountain, that's not happening in therapy. And therapists can't guide themselves. No one else can either. Coaches can't guide themselves. Coaches need coaches. So the answer here is yes, therapists can benefit from coaching. But again, let's listen in to what they have to say.
Yes, they do. And also they can benefit from therapy. You know?
Exactly. Yes.
But yes, and I think this could be true of any therapist, but I think particularly those of us in private practice like myself. I tell my colleagues all the time when we have like peer meetings that some of the best parts about being in private practice and working for yourself is that you get to make all the decisions. You decide who you see, what you charge, what days you work, how many hours, all the things you get to decide. And also one of the hardest things about being in private practice is that you have to decide all the things, who you see, when you work, how much you charge, and it's 100% up to you. And that can be really difficult to try to make all those decisions on your own.
Yeah, it can be. I can agree with that because I think any solopreneur or entrepreneur, right? That's what we experience.
Yes, absolutely. So that could, like you're saying, that could be for many, many fields of entrepreneurs. And it's funny, I think that most therapists, I certainly fall into this category, do not think of themselves as entrepreneurs when going into private practice.
What do you think? What did you think when you were
going? Just think of ourselves as therapists, just a therapist.
Therapist. Yeah.
Just working in this way, different than working for a group or an agency or wherever you might have worked before. And it took me a few years, I think, to think about myself as a business owner, an entrepreneur. I think it's easy to only put people doing multiple things into that category. You know, if you're a therapist, but you also wrote a book or have a podcast or, whatever, or doing something else also, then, you sort of can put yourself in that category. But I think it was a mindset shift for me to think about myself as an entrepreneur and business owner.
Therapists can be the worst clients ever because there is that like we know the stuff.
Yes.
It's hard to do for ourselves. Yeah. As a mom, as a business owner, as someone who's managing, my own stuff too, the coaching has helped me to formulate where to put my energy. And it's helped me make things simpler because there's so many balls in the air that my tendency is to try to juggle them really well all at once. And that just doesn't work. When I want to scale my business and I want to give all my kids, what I can, and they're ranging from ages 8 to almost 18. So they have very different needs. I have a partner. We moved a year ago. So there's that transition that just happened. And you can't juggle every single ball really well all the time. So the coaching has helped me to simplify, realize I don't have to do everything, ask for more help. That's been huge. Really asking for support, not the super mom thing. That's really something I'm happy to release. And also my business asking for help as well.
Okay, so sometimes I've heard a therapist say, I should be able to figure this all out myself. Kind of like, I should be able to manage my mind around all of this. I should be able to make decisions. I shouldn't need any of this. But what do you think about that? Here's what they had to say.
I mean, I understand that sentiment because, again, kind of going back to ultimately it is all, my decision, how I run my business and who I see and all those things. And it's very easy to second guess yourself a lot. It is kind of contradictory in some ways thinking about yourself as a therapist and a business owner because the therapy is about the relationship with you and your clients and, that you care for them and all of these nice things, and the business side is like but also you no-showed, and so I have to charge you, and because it is a business and I need to follow my own policies. And if I didn't charge for the things that I say I'm going to charge for, then I wouldn't have a business anymore. Like I have to do it.
Actually, okay. So it's almost like coaching helps you with your relationship with your business.
Definitely. Yes.
Right. So it's like the relationship isn't with another human, it's with a business. And that's something that you're not trained on. Right. Yep. They did not teach you that in grad school.
No, although I will say, I think that there are a few programs that are adding in some minimal business side of things. I know a therapist / business coach who taught a class at her alma mater. So just recently. So, at least it's, it's creeping up, but
people are thinking about it.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that every single therapist in private practice requires a coach, but I think everyone could benefit from having a coach.
Because also, like, you can make decisions. I mean, we all can make decisions, but I think when you've got that business hat on, like, but is this the right decision? Or you're dragging your feet on making a decision, right? Like you're just not deciding.
I'm doing that right now, as far as what I'm going to do about 2024. And I made a decision, but I didn't inform my clients of that yet. And now I'm second guessing it. And,
we should talk about that.
I mean, I mostly figured it out, but it's not done until it's in writing,
Yes. And then what's going to happen to those? Are they going to like your decision? Are they not going to like your decision? Right. So how does that impact you? So this is where it all sort of spirals.
Right. And that goes back to the relationship piece. The decision is about raising rates and whether or not I am within a couple of insurance companies right now. And I am definitely staying through the end of April, which was a commitment that I made, but I am deciding whether or not I'm going to continue after that.
Okay.
I don't need to make that decision by the end of the year, but I'm sort of letting any new people know that that's a situation. You currently take your insurance, but I'm not sure I'm going to be taking it past April. And I don't know I forget where we were going there.
All right. So you've made that decision in your head, but you haven't told them yet.
Right. And when it comes to raising rates, it's always a little tricky because, you have some clients that you mostly do know kind of, at least to some degree, the financial status of your clients because you know a lot about them. And so people that I know are already having a hard time paying my fee. It's hard to decide to raise
it's hard.
rates on them. There's always the risk of losing clients when you do that. And that does happen, but it doesn't happen as much as most therapists fear it's going to happen. People fear that they're going to lose all their clients, and that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No.
That's not going to happen.
The first thing that comes to mind is like doctors need doctors, lawyers need lawyers, right? Like I just left from a lawyer's office about a will, right? And then we were talking about like, well, what does that look like for business, having a business succession plan, and might need to talk to the real estate attorney for that, so they need their own lawyers because things are so specialized, in our world, especially now. So, and doctors also need doctors and they may be able to figure out enough. Like I have some clients and they've done an amazing job of figuring out the type of therapy modality that they need. And unfortunately, I feel bad that they had to do that, and also really proud of them for like taking action and advocating for what they need and asking for what they need. So, yeah.
Okay. That's a good answer. I mean, I never thought about it that way.
I hear it from you too.
Yeah, so. But I always say that like coaches need coaches. I have a coach, right? So what's up with that? Okay.
I have a therapist. I'm a therapist.
So. Yes, it's interesting. It's interesting. So
wait, I want to say one more thing to that, if I may. It's like the blind spots, right? Like we have friends in our lives and we look in a mirror. We can't see our own, what's on our face unless we look in the mirror. So sometimes we need somebody to reflect back to us what their experience is of us, or our business or things like that, and point those things out that we can't tell, right? We see ourselves every day, so we can't necessarily see our growth, but somebody else can point it out to us, and that can be really helpful.
Here's another thing I often hear people say. Sometimes I get prospective clients thinking that they need to work with someone in their own industry because they think that a coach should understand their industry inside and out in order to help them. But I would like to position that as just a thought option. And another thought option might be that it could be a huge benefit to have a coach that was not in your industry. Because when you have a coach that's not in your industry, they can see things from the outside. They are not in your peanut butter jar, right? And that allows for faster growth and easier growth, having that outside of the peanut butter jar perspective. So regardless of your industry, I think it's beneficial to have a coach that's not in your industry to get that out of the peanut butter jar perspective. And here is what they had to say.
No, I don't, but I do think it's helpful if they have some experience working with therapists. In some ways, I think that it can be better to have a more diversified background on who you coach, because it can be easy to get sort of tunnel vision, I think. And even being in group coaching and hearing people in completely different industries, it's some of the challenges are completely different, but a lot of them can still be, I'm like, well, I can see how that fits into my work, or how I can utilize this. You just have to switch it around a little bit. But there's definitely a lot to be learned from other industries as well. And just not having, there's a lot of both spoken and unspoken so-called rules in the therapy world. People throw around the word ethical far more often than is reasonable, in my opinion. They talk about ethics as if they're laws, and it's more on the lines of, there's your ethical code, and yes, you have to follow that. But then anything outside of the ethical code is more about like your own personal values and choices. It's not really ethics per se.
Right.
And so there's a lot of controversy there. So I think working with somebody outside of the field that doesn't have that sort of, what would you even call that? But
like almost like that. It's like a film, like seeing things through a different set of glasses.
Yes, it's not. You have a wider range in your mind of what's possible and what's okay. And it's still up to me to decide, like in this particular case, I can't do that, or, I wouldn't do that because of these reasons. I can see why somebody in a different field would, but still it can make, me or any other therapist sort of question their own decisions in a positive way.
Well, that's a good question. That's not my experience. That's not my experience. I don't think so. So I would say that as business owners, there's a shared experience in being a business owner.
Yes.
There's different way, I connect with mental health professionals in other ways and have mentors there. But this business owner life and identity is so much newer for me, and the skill set that I'm not as comfortable with even yet. So I would say no to that. I don't think that's necessary.
Okay. You just brought up something else that I hadn't really thought about, but I think like you could, if someone said to you, introduce yourself, you'd say, we put our profession into that. That's like our identity into that. But oftentimes we don't put in, and I'm a business owner. It's kind of, is it inherent in the conversation or not? But that's like a whole different identity that sometimes we don't even give enough airtime to. I think it is interesting too, to think about how coaching helps us in our own businesses deliver our own services. All right. So think about that. How can coaching help you deliver your own services, even if your business is in the mental health vertical, like therapy? Okay. So I asked my therapist clients, how has the coaching that you've received from me helped you deliver therapy to your clients? And the answers are fascinating. So I want you to think about this. What if you had another source to draw from in order to help you serve your own clients? And here are their answers to how has coaching helped you as a therapist?
Well, first of all, I think that when you feel more comfortable with your business decisions, you're going to be a better therapist because you're just more confident.
So true. That's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
So, and time is a huge factor. I mean, I don't think there is any replacement for experience. And no matter how much coaching I got, if I was in year 4 of, doing this work instead of year 14, I would still not have the same amount of confidence that I do when being challenged by a client about raising a fee or something like that, or my no-show fee, or the hours that I work, or any of that stuff. And I am very confident in those areas now, as far as like when I make the decision, I will stick to it. It's just all the more important to make the decision that's right for you. And I think coaching can really help solidify that, the confidence in those decisions, which then shows up in the therapy room.
Yes.
Okay.
I hear your voice often because I so respect you. And so when I'm in my life, I think of what we talk about.
Yes.
And that doesn't end when I'm in session either. So I hear myself saying, what would your future self say? I hear myself saying that to clients.
Okay.
And that's helped me so much. So what we learn in life, we take into our other areas. So yeah, I do hear myself bringing coaching concepts. There's, I bring in structures with folks that have anxiety and do the thing with all the balls. It helps to have a structure to simplify things. It doesn't have to be focusing on the emotions so much. Maybe isn't always as helpful. So sometimes we look at a structure or just the facts, and that's very helpful. And I've learned and practiced more of that in coaching.
Yeah. Let's see. And I have definitely brought in different examples that we've talked about. And it's interesting to see kind of like themes or patterns of conversations with clients in session, like that you and I have had, or the group has had, and then how that comes up in therapy, And so like the river of misery, I think you call it, that has definitely come up. Even just the conceptual idea I've used of like how you're here and you want to get here, but it can't be this big jump. It didn't happen in a day, right? Where you're at and how you're feeling and why you're feeling that didn't happen in a day. It's not going to be generally fixed in a day. That'd be great if it does. And there are some types of therapies it's pretty quick. So it's helped me with that, to like give them some visual or a different way to think about it. Because as I'm getting coaching, I'm looking at what is my current functioning, how can I get to fulfillment? So I'm helping them to do that. So even with like as we've worked through PTSD, right? So the flip side of that is post-traumatic growth. And so and it's not necessarily only linear, like kind of like grief is not only linear. We might kind of go around and back and stuff like that, but I can still keep some of that post-traumatic growth piece, or like the fulfillment coaching aspects in my mind, and kind of insert it in here and there. So that's been really good. And it just helps me because I tell my clients, I'm not going to ask you to do anything I haven't done or would be willing to do, So if I'm not growing and learning, how can I ask them to grow and learn? Even though mine may look different, it's there's definitely been lots of overlap.
All right, my friends, and here's what I want to leave you with. If you're a business owner, any type of business owner, a therapist, a landscape, an educator, a designer, okay, securing support is a crucial element required for growth and big thinking. As you move into 2024, have you secured your support to help facilitate that growth? Have you secured support that's going to help you identify real problems, which are usually just feelings? Have you secured support that's going to help you dive into the unknown? So, to wrap up, I asked my clients, is there anything else you want to add to our conversation? And here's what they said.
No, just like I think this is true. And I think any therapist who might be listening to this knows that clients wait until they needed therapy like last year, not even yesterday, before they actually, go and look for one. And I think that therapists do the same thing as far as finding coaches. I know that was true for me. And so I think when you're really thinking about it and considering whether or not you might, be able to use a business coach, or, could this be helpful to you, then you should probably just give it a shot. Don't keep putting it off.
My coaching experience has been so rich, and I knew I needed it for a long time, and I searched for a long time and had other coaches that were more, they ended up focusing on different areas that I realized, that's great. I don't really need that piece. I've been looking. And so working with you has fulfilled what I had been looking for, which is very direct. There's a space that's held where I feel like I'm held accountable in a way that I needed as a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
That's really been helpful.
Good. I love that.
Because
right.
not many people hold us accountable as business owners. We're the boss.
True. It's true. Like we're the boss and we think that we should be able to do it all, right? And figure it out. But then yet we don't take the time to figure it out sometimes. Like we don't give ourselves that space, right? So because of all the other things that are going on in life. And I find that super helpful when I'm working with my coach, that it's just like a place physically and mentally, like the space is being held for me to make some decisions. Yeah. To move forward. Right. All right, my friends, who is your coach? If you don't have a coach, I would be honored to be yours. Now is the perfect time to get things lined up for 2024. If you want to dive in and really hit the gates running in January, you need to set up a consult call right now, today. Go over to andreaslinks.com right now and set up that complimentary consult call that's really worth thousands of dollars. Because here's the thing. What are you going to get from that consult call that is complimentary, free? You are going to get clarity about what's going on and what needs to change. You're going to get the confidence you need to do something about it. We're going to determine if coaching is the right thing. And we're going to determine if it is the right thing, what kind of coaching. Now, if it isn't the right thing, or if I don't offer the kind of coaching you need, I'm going to help you find what you need. Trust me. All right. But if it is the right thing, then we're going to get you going now so that in January, you can really not have any lag or delay. You can really just cruise with ease into January. Now, depending on what coaching program you enroll in, you might get you might have a ticket to She Thinks Big Live included in your package. She Thinks Big Live is a live in-person event I'm doing in January, all day in Indianapolis on January 19th. If you don't have your ticket for that, you need to also go to andreaslinks.com right now before the prices go up and get your ticket if there are any left. I'm not sure because I'm recording this ahead of time. Well, maybe there are, maybe there aren't. Okay. But you need to be there. You need to be in that room full of women business owners. Feel that energy. It's not just any room. There's not going to be a room full of employees who are there because their boss told them to be there. You're going to be in a room full of people who want to be there, who are ready to create an extraordinary 2024. That's what we're going to work on. Yeah. All right. So andreaslinks.com, set up your consult call. That is, why not? Like, I also want to ask that, why not? Set up your consult call and grab your ticket. Okay, my friends, now's the time to level up. It's mid-December. We got to do this. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.